One more. How are
Oh,
you?
good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I got
Are
very
you?
excited because the Zoom said the real poop queen was showing up. That
Hey,
got me
you know
very
what?
excited.
That's what they call me these days. But pooping is important, right? That's what we're
I
gonna talk about today.
I think it very much is important. I think did you ever so did you ever think when you were growing up as a kid, you're like, one day they'll call me the poop queen?
No, I actually wanted to. I was thinking about this the other day. I actually wanted to be an attorney.
Oh well.
Little did I ever think as a child that I would grow up just talking about poop all day long with people.
Probably like, it's probably like I think we got it reversed because like when I was a kid, all I did was make like poop jokes. So I think I'm a little jealous of your poop queen title. But for those wondering, welcome to the real poop queen to the These Little Moments podcast. So Lizzie, why don't you introduce yourself to the people so they know so we don't just call you the poop queen.
Awesome. Yes, my name is Liz Roman. I am the co-owner of Fit Mom Lifestyle. I am a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner. What the heck does that mean? We do a lot of work with our clients with functional testing to help them get to the root cause of a lot of their symptoms. As you're going to hear me talk about today, I know that Ryan really preaches, balance and enjoying some of the favorite things that you love, whether that's ice cream or pizza or whatnot. If you're somebody who's eating those things and you're having really bad digestive reactions, it's not the food's fault. It's a
Mhm.
function issue. So we work with our clients to get to the root cause of what their symptoms are. Work a lot with people who have autoimmune conditions. For me, I have had two autoimmune conditions in my life. Very short story. As a child, I was diagnosed with children's rheumatoid arthritis, and they suspected Lyme disease. Was put on prednisone and methotrexate, high doses, gained a lot of weight, struggled with chronic constipation for 8 years. And as a side effect of all of those things, I was exhausted and I couldn't lose weight no matter what I did. Had horrible PMS, acne, all these things. It's not a way to live in high school, right? Going to college
Mhm.
and stuff. My colonoscopy was in college. Um, and that's why I'm really passionate about the work that we do, because I want people to understand if you've been dieting for a while and you're not losing weight and you feel like crap every day, even though some of
Mhm.
these symptoms that you may experience are common, they're not normal. So
Right.
that's what I do. I work with clients one on one all over the United States, the UK, and Canada. And I also co host the Food Code podcast, which
Let's
Ryan has been on.
go. I have, and the reason I wanted you on this because you've been doing this series on the old TikTok about fiber, about your constipation series and all that, and that I love learning from you because like when it comes to like gut health or it comes to digestion or straight up poops, like you're one of the first people I think of and like look to. And I think I didn't even know that backstory with how it motivates you to do what you do now. Um, do you want to, I guess, how do we ease into this poop talk or how do we ease into this digestion talk? Should we just break down sort of maybe what symptoms might cause someone to be constipated from the get-go and we'll go from there?
Yeah. So let's first define constipation, because
Sure.
man, there's a big difference between conventional medicine's definition and what we look at in terms of optimal, right? How the body should be functioning. So,
Mhm.
conventional medicine says if you're pooping less than 3 times a week for longer than 3 months, you're constipated. Well, like anybody who's not gone to the bathroom for 3 days is probably pretty uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, we got that shit sitting in there. It needs to come out, right?
Oh
We don't
yeah.
want to feel like that heavy feeling. So, my mission and my, message is you should be pooping 1 to 3 times a day pain free. So rolled up within, just not going to the bathroom, there's other forms of constipation. So here's where we think about straining, having to take a long time to go. Where you're sitting on the toilet and you're like, man, I feel like I need to go, but I can't go. Maybe you're having hemorrhoids, it's painful, small pebble like stools. So you don't feel like you ever really fully evacuate. Pooping should be seamless. I mean, you should get the signal that you need to go to the bathroom, and it shouldn't be super urgent that you're going to have an accident, right? We get the signal that we need to go, we go, it sinks to the bottom, it doesn't smell horrific, we're in and out in a few minutes, and we feel good, like we feel satisfied. And I know that sounds weird to people, but anybody who's ever been really constipated knows what it feels like to feel like, man, I haven't fully emptied my bowels. So there's other forms of constipation besides just not going to the bathroom.
Right. Right.
So I wanted to kind of, define that.
Absolutely.
Gosh, what did you ask me? Side effects of constipation?
Well, one, I want to say I can totally relate to the satisfaction of pooping because I've always been so I've always enjoyed pooping. Like it's like for me, it's like, yeah, I very much look forward to like my daily poos. So I just want to say that when you say satisfaction, I'm right there with you. I get it. So I would say, so we define what constipation is, right? So I guess now we need to look at, okay, what typically, I guess, from a broad perspective, obviously, because it differs from the individual, but I guess what typically can cause the how you define as optimal or unoptimal constipation?
Yeah. So this is a really great question. There's several things. So a lot of times what I will do with people who've been chronically constipated, not just for like a short period of time, but like years. I was just talking about it on my live today. I had a lady start with me a couple of weeks ago. She's been chronically constipated for 40 years.
Wow.
It's a long time, right? And her story is similar to mine, where when I was so backed up and constipated, the doctor said, low FODMAP diet and take Miralax, which is straight poison. So, there's a lot of reasons. So if we think back to our childhood, were we constipated as a child? It hurt to go. We were scared to go. So we withheld. When we're growing up as a young adult, then you feel like maybe embarrassed sometimes, to go to the bathroom because people joke, and I'm sure boys more so than girls,
Right.
about their bowels, but girls, specifically, like we're supposed to be the ones that don't poop.
Right.
So withholding can definitely be, and that could be as an adult, if you're rushing in the morning, you don't allow yourself that morning routine to get up, get in that calm state, parasympathetic, right? Rest and digest. Your body can feel safe to give you that signal. Otherwise, you just feel like you're being chased by a bear. And so that's a very common cause. Electrolytes, we'll get into this, I'm sure, but, a lot of people are not properly hydrated. And so this is where I look at, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, all these other things that are important for your body to actually use and absorb water. So a lot of your water gets absorbed in the gut. This helps soften your stools, help you go to the bathroom. Diet, right? A lot of people lack fiber. I have many people who say, well, I'm just really uncomfortable when I try to increase my fiber. And there's different fiber sources, types of fiber, things like that. Again, this is kind of where we go back to a functional issue and what's going on, in the gut. Digestive secretions. So I just want to say digestion should be a quiet event. If someone's experiencing beyond constipation, things like heartburn, acid reflux, bloating, gas, your gas smells like rotten eggs, not normal. The heartburn and reflux can also be kind of a telltale indicator that we don't have enough stomach acid. So thinking about digestion at a high level here, it's a north to south process. It starts in your brain. You start thinking about your food, that delicious. I made a taco bake last night for dinner, so we'll use that. It was amazing. I'm excited to eat this, right? Then I start salivating for that. Like I think about your reels and the things that you do, like the delicious Trader Joe's French fry, right?
Oh yeah.
So you're salivating. These are gastric juices. There's pancreatic enzymes in your saliva. Then you're chewing, you're swallowing in the stomach. We need adequate levels of stomach acid, pancreatic enzymes, and bile to help us break down and emulsify proteins, carbs, fats, electrolytes, all these things. When we lack those things, it's very hard on the digestive system. Like I always kind of give this, imagine the scenario where like, imagine you're making a smoothie, but you don't have any water or juice or yogurt. You just have a bunch of fruits and vegetables and ice. It's not going to be really smooth, right? It's not going to grind well. We need that liquid. We need those secretions. And then the last thing that I would say here is certainly medications for some individuals, hypothyroidism, type 2 diabetes, high stress, cortisol, various hormones that are imbalanced, all that can impair our motility.
So there's a shit ton of reasons why
Yeah.
someone might feel constipated. So literally, like you said, and I love that the analogy is it starts north to south, right? So literally, you can start from like parasympathetic, right, to like your thoughts, stress, all that, and all the way down to the biles and what we typically associate with pooping or the process of it or digestion in general. So can you sort of break down, I guess, so now that we've identified, what I guess maybe we haven't identified, what would you say is like an optimal amount or what did you find as someone who's regular?
Yeah. 1 to 3 times a day, normal, easy to pass, snake-like or sausage-like stools.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at and my constipation cure guide, I have a copy of the Bristol stool chart, or a simple Google search will show you this.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 is what you're going for. So number 3 can be normal too, but it's like kind of looks like there's cracks in it. That can be kind of a sign of dehydration. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we shouldn't have pain. We shouldn't be straining. We shouldn't feel like we're sitting there forever. It should be just easy to
Mm-hmm.
pass. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it shouldn't be foul smelling or floating. If we've got floaters, that can be an indicator that we have an issue with our bile, which is
Mm-hmm.
really important in breaking down our fats and absorbing
Mm-hmm.
soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, K, detoxification, all things like that. So, here's what I'll say as, kind of a side note for this for females.
Mm-hmm.
Right before our period starts, we do have a hormonal shift, and progesterone can get really strong and shut off motility for some women. So, yeah, I think here nor there, depending upon where you're at in your menstrual cycle, there can be a day. But really, if you're having these, like where you're going every other day, that's not normal. If it's a day a month or a day here nor there, okay, we can get by with that. But in general, you should be going daily, 1 to 3 times.
Okay, that's actually very specific and very helpful. So 1 to 3 times daily, looking for like a 4 on like the poop chart. What I've heard in the past too is that when it enters the water, it should sound like a Olympic diver, right? So it shouldn't be like that solid like plop or anything like that. It should be like smooth and like enters the water gracefully, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
go ahead.
it shouldn't be this like horrific. Like I remember when I was really constipated, like my college
Hmm.
roommates would joke that victory, like I was finally able to go to the bathroom.
Hmm.
And at that point, I was so backed up and so miserable that yeah, I was
Hmm.
taking laxatives.
All
And then
right.
it would lead me the opposite way to where it would be like dumping. So it was looser stools
Hmm.
after some harder and then normal and then fairly loose. And it was like multiple times a day. So urgency or really loose stool, seeing, undigested food in your stool, all of that would be also not normal. Um,
Hmm.
Snake-like, formed, easy to pass.
Snake Lake form, easy pass. All right, I will remember that.
I
But
just want you to report in, next time you're going to the bathroom, like, hey, it was snake-like.
oh, absolutely. Well, this is the most serious conversation I ever had about poop in my life, so I'm already very proud, like, of
Yeah,
how I'm handling this conversation.
it's not a sexy topic, I think, for a lot of people, but
Mhm.
the latest stat that I read is that 80 million people
Mm.
who have come forward and said they have an issue. 80 million, that's a lot of people, right? And then you
Yeah.
think about all of the money being made off pharmaceuticals. Like I had a client come in, she was on a product called Linzess, and it was $500 a month out of pocket.
Wow.
Like it's really when you dive into it, it's really prevalent,
Hmm.
and not enough people are talking about this to help people improve.
Yeah.
And when we think about the side effects, especially for females, I mean, but men too, hormonal imbalances, toxicity, estrogen dominance, all of these things that are, sitting in your colon and they are excreted or there's waste products that are set for excretion. They need to be removed. These toxins, xenoestrogens, all these things, heavy metals, mold, it just makes us toxic because if we're not pooping it out, we're not detoxing. So we're recirculating.
Hmm.
And so then we're looking at, higher levels of inflammation in the body, low libido, holding
Hmm.
weight in places that we don't necessarily want it. For men, the man boobs. For
Hmm.
ladies, it's, a lot of the midsection area and kind of the upper arms and things like that. And we see so many people, and I'm sure you've had these clients yourself, man, they're doing everything right.
Hmm.
they're counting the calories or, tracking food, eating food. They've changed a lot of behaviors and doing really well, going to the gym, getting their water, moving, things like that. But something's off. Like they're just still not getting to the place that they want to be, or that last 10 or whatever. And so
Hmm.
that's where we have to look internally at what's going on and then look at like the toxic load and the hormonal imbalances.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also like you said, like looking at their entire history of how they've been going about it as well, because most people try to lose weight in ways that are very unsustainable, which they don't even think about how's that affecting my digestion, how's that affecting my gut health, hormones, all that as well. So I think that's very important that you touched on that. So, like we said, we defined constipation. We defined what a regular sort of stool and routine should look like. So, I think like my next question is because I love this. I'm very much learning right now too, so I'm very excited. Is how does somebody, and again, this is general information. Liz is an amazing one-on-one coach, so if you want individualized coaching for this, reach out to her, and her show notes will be in the links below. But for general purposes, right, what are like first steps for somebody who's like, okay, I gotta get fucking regular?
All right. So we're going to break this down. I like to do 5 lifestyle tips and 5 food tips
Okay,
because sometimes it's like it's cloudy and
for
interchanged.
sure.
So, kind of going back to one of the root causes with our behavior and withholding is, what does your routine look like? Are you giving yourself time to actually sit down and be in a parasympathetic state, to slow
Mm-hmm.
down? Stress is huge here. So this is going to include both that morning time. So we haven't, our circadian rhythm, the internal clock, the colon likes to let loose,
Yeah.
basically between 5 and 7 a.m. That's the colon time, right? So in the morning, doesn't mean you have to get up at 5 o'clock, but in the morning, you should have some time for your body to be able to feel safe enough to go to the bathroom. So that routine is key. The second thing is your eating hygiene. I have a rule of 3 that I'd like to just keep it real simple for people because I get it. I'm a mom, I'm a busy entrepreneur, podcaster. We got all the things to do all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you deserve to take time in your day to sit down with your food and eat, and not be eating, in the car, working at your computer, just again, distracted and in that stress state. So slowing things down, giving yourself that time. I would say in terms of the rule of the 3 by 10 here, 3 by 3, look at how you can time block at least 10 minutes. Obviously, I believe everybody deserves more than 10 minutes to eat, but at
Mm-hmm.
least 10 minutes. And before you start eating, look at your food, take 10 deep breaths, kind of try to signal your central nervous system into that calm state. So 10 deep breaths, 10 minutes minimum. And then as much as you can, try to do some sort of non-stressful movement like walking for 10 minutes, shortly after you're eating. This can really help because this will help pull more blood into the digestive tract. And then because you're doing a better job of getting into that rest and digest state, your body is prioritizing digestion rather than pulling blood flow away because you feel like the body feels like it's being chased by a saber-toothed tiger while you're trying to like shove a protein bar in your mouth and chase your kids around and all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's key. Second thing is lifestyle, as I mentioned briefly before, hydration. This is
Mm-hmm.
sounds so silly to people, but again, a lot of people do not adequately hydrate themselves. They may be drinking
Mm-hmm.
a large amount of water, but there's no minerals. So
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a saltwater flush. This has been around for centuries, but Celtic sea salt is a really great thing that you could do again first thing in the morning. I call this kind of your internal shower. So like if you get
Mm-hmm.
up, brush your teeth, you're going to take a shower, right? Hopefully. Um, giving yourself a little bit of hydration, that salt will again pull water to where it should be and actually, into your cells so that you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth thing here is walk. I think a lot of people, and I know you talk about this a lot too, we don't walk enough and we
Right.
don't keep our blood flowing enough. And that is huge for digestion.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing is from a lifestyle perspective, I get asked a lot about like supplements. If I could give one supplement for people, magnesium, because magnesium is such a miracle mineral and we're so deficient. 2/3 of people are deficient. And I like a specific type because they all act differently.
Mm-hmm.
If you are somebody who is chronically constipated, Calm, magnesium calm. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it's a magnesium citrate. It's an osmotic laxative. A lot of people use that. I personally prefer magnesium bisglycinate, because this works on the neural signaling. Again, we think about our brain being involved. So I like magnesium bisglycinate. Magnesium's involved in over 600 enzymatic functions. So that would be one you could do. Thorne is my preferred brand there, but again, any good quality magnesium bisglycinate would be good. So those are my lifestyle tips.
Okay, so I'll try to recap them. So we have obviously one of them is getting to a parasympathetic state, right? So like you said, first thing as soon as you wake up, and I'm sure we've all been through this too, but a lot of people, they grab their phones first thing they do, and it sends them into like a panic state, right? Like, oh, work emails, or have this to do today, have that to do today, something on social media maybe. So what first thing you would recommend is obviously getting calm, right? So getting to a state where you feel calm, you feel safe, you feel relaxed. And then in addition, like you said, is when it comes to eating, make sure it's not rushed, right? Making sure you're not rushing through eating your food, making sure, again, you're taking some deep breaths before you eat to, again, connect mind with body, let them know, hey, this is going down, right?
Yep.
Literally. And then, like you said, go for a walk. Post walk, get the blood flow going to the parts of the body that we need for digestion. And also, again, and I like how this is kind of a theme for your whole entire process, but like, connecting the parasympathetic state throughout, right? So going for a walk also will take your mind, and make it help you feel safe. And then the other thing you recommend was this supplemental recommendation, right? Was the magnesium bisglycinate?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when we look at so there's like over 15 different kind of root causes. The number one magnesium deficiency. And we think about our food, it is, our soil is not as magnesium rich as it was, right? So our food is not as rich. We only absorb 30 to 40% of the magnesium in the food that we're consuming. So it's really just a powerful, I think everybody, that's like I have like 3 supplements. I think everybody could benefit from magnesium, but I like that specific type for people really struggling with constipation, because what you can do there is you can titrate it up. So if you take this magnesium bisglycinate, let's say you take it before bed and you don't really feel like it's working too well, it's a powder, you can slowly add a little bit more to your dose, your tolerance. It's not only working on the neural signaling, it's a very absorbable form. Your body's going to use it, and the rest is going to go to your digestive tract. So you got to find the right dose for you. A lot of people talk about, supplements, and I don't like to blanket statement, like digestive enzymes, definitely not probiotics, because every person is such a unique individual, and their microbiome is very different from another's. But magnesium is one that is very safe, miracle mineral, really important for health and even beyond just constipation. So that's why I include that one in terms of the lifestyle tips.
Right, absolutely. And I like how it's last too. And I also forgot to mention you recommended the salt water or the sea salt water in the morning as well. Does it matter, like, do I just go get some sea salt from anywhere and just sprinkle that into my water in the morning?
Yes, great question. So 1 teaspoon per 16 ounces of water. And I recommend Celtic sea salt or Redmond real salt. We want it to be a mineralized salt.
Gotcha.
Kind of going back to the common theme here of using our water, we need electrolytes. I also love LMNT electrolyte packets. I don't know if you use those too, but big fan of those. But otherwise, if you're saying like, okay, well, I could do the salt, I have that at home, that's cool, but I don't really like this, squeeze some lemon in there. That can also stimulate digestion and be supportive too. So you can make it how you want. Beyond that, I have like on my Instagram and stuff, some different like coconut water powders you could use that's got more potassium. But if you're really wanting that internal flush, I would stick with like the Celtic sea salt or Redmond real salt.
Okay, awesome. And like I said, I like how the first like 4 steps are like lifestyle, like, hey, do this, do this, do this, and then hey, also add in this supplement because you're probably deficient on it as well. So those are your lifestyle tips for getting regular. What did you have another set for the other regular?
So let's talk about food. Because
Okay.
this is important. And again, I'm thinking about your audience and your message here. We want you to be able to enjoy these things and not feel horrible after you've had ice cream or go out for pizza, like you're bent over in pain, you're super bloated, you got to take a nap, like fatigue. Like those digestion should be a quiet event.
Hmm.
So we want you to be able to enjoy those things. So again, if it's just something where you felt like you can't eat anything because you're reacting to everything, then you need to get to the root cause, right? You need to figure out what, is going on, because it's not the food's fault. No, I don't think you should be eating pizza and ice cream all the time,
Right.
but we also are emotional beings that connect with our family, our friends, socialize with some fun foods, it's like I like to call them.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think it's important to keep a food journal and kind of evaluate, are there any specific triggers? Because listen, it doesn't even have to be processed foods or fun foods. It can be certain, vegetables, for example, for some people. So if something is triggering you, kind of keep a food and mood journal. How do I feel after this? What are my energy levels? What's the balance of that meal? Hey, you could look back and say, oh, I ate raw broccoli or Brussels sprouts for 3 days and I got really gassy. Okay, well, maybe that's, something that you want to try cooking differently then, maybe steaming
Hmm.
or roasting it. I'm not a fan of just removing, a bunch of foods.
Right.
So I think that's important. I don't like those blanket statements, like I mentioned, of just like going low FODMAP.
Right.
So the second thing here is don't fear fats. We need good quality, healthy fats to lubricate our bowels. Um, this is going to be things, nuts, seeds, nut butters, chia seeds, flax seeds, olive oil, ghee, MCT oil. I talk about in my constipation cure guide. We have some recipes in there that use the olive oil. You can use MCT oil. Those can be things that are very helpful, again, for helping you go to the bathroom easier. We
Hmm.
don't want those small pebble like stools or feel like we have to strain. So it kind of lubricates the bowels, as I say.
Right. I like
Yeah.
that.
Um, fiber, as I mentioned before, a lot of people struggle with this one. Here's what I would encourage you to do is think about things that you like and do more of that. Diversify maybe 1 to 2 new foods a week. Try to add one fruit, one vegetable, really try to just get as many colors in and diversity in. I know I get stuck in a rut, of like the same foods or
Right.
buying the same thing. So try to do that. If you struggle with things, for example, like oatmeal or beans or legumes, and you just think like it doesn't agree with you, you could try soaking and sprouting those things. So, for example, like overnight oats can be a little bit easier for people to digest. Again, same with vegetables. Maybe you're roasting or steaming them instead of eating them raw, right?
Hmm.
So play around with that and just really try to diversify things. And then 2 big ones here is bitter greens. Bitter greens can really prime the body for digestion, can stimulate bile, which is really good because we need adequate bile for proper digestion and absorption of our nutrients, and also detoxifying things. So, especially when we think about our good, healthy fats, fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, we want to be able to get the benefits of those things, right? So, bitter greens can really help in that category. We would think about arugula, Jerusalem artichoke. For some people, it's like parsley, spinach, just a lot of leafy greens, beetroot. Beet greens are really great, dandelion greens. So all of those things, maybe just think about adding a little bit, microdosing it in, start your meal with that. I love arugula
Hmm.
personally. So a
Hmm.
box of arugula will last me a few days because every meal I just put a little on the side and do that.
Hmm.
The last one here is bone broth. So bone broth is very, very healing. I actually just did a video last week talking about if I had to pick one thing for people to do, it would be drink a cup of bone broth each day. We're actually doing a 30-day bone broth challenge right now.
Hmm.
Because this has so many electrolytes, vitamins, minerals, amino acids. It's got
Hmm.
glutamine, it's got glycine, gelatin, collagen. All of these things can really help with overall, just mineral balance and good
Hmm.
nutrients, but also be very calming to the digestive
Hmm.
system, calm down inflammation. If we are struggling with inflammatory bowel or irritable bowel or leaky gut, things like that, it can be really healing to the intestinal barrier.
Hmm.
So those would be kind of like my top 5 things. And those aren't necessarily any particular order. Pick what's easiest for you. You
Right.
know, you might be a vegetarian and say, well, what do I do if I don't want to do bone broth? Totally fine. There's vegetarian elixirs that you could put into place. If you don't like beef broth, because I have some clients that have religious beliefs there. That's okay. You can do chicken broth or you can do vegetable broth, but we can make these things, even at home. We don't have to buy them. And they are really nutrient dense. So they just pack a good punch,
Mhm.
in a small volume.
Mhm. Well, I like that. I don't know why one of the analogies that came through my mind are like it lubricates as you go down. I was like, nobody wants to go down a water slide that has no water on it. It's like the most painful thing ever. So that's what I thought. I was like, yep, I get that. So I guess for based off that, so if I were to have a cup of bone broth, could that replace when we look at the previous ones that salt water if I have a cup of bone broth instead, or would be in conjunction with it?
Yeah, so I actually like bone broth at nighttime because it can
Okay.
be calming and supportive of sleep. You
Mm,
can totally replace that salt water in the morning if you wanted to, because
mm,
there's going to be some sodium and stuff in there.
right.
So, yeah, and then I think it's also what is going to work for the individual that they will do consistently.
Right.
Don't want to do things just short term, right?
Yeah.
It's like I think we even maybe talked about this on our podcast
Hmm.
together, but I always say to my clients, like, what got you here, what got you the results that you have today. If it's like I did a cut phase, right? You're going to increase your food and you're going to increase your calories, but all the other things that we worked on with our mindset, our behaviors, our decisions, the quality of food, just our lifestyle,
Right.
those still have to stay consistent and in play if you want to maintain your results. Like I don't think I've ever met anybody who maintained the results eating, erratically or in a surplus or just not great food, not going to the gym, walking and things like that, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
they typically regain all the weight. So you just got to find what's works for you, what you're comfortable with. I always want people to do things that they enjoy. That's why I'm kind of, saying broad spectrum here, like diversify
Hmm.
your intake because what I like, you may not like at all, but the foods you like may have a lot of benefit and value as
Right.
well.
Right. No, and I again, that's why I always love how you tie it back into like the behavioral stuff because it's one to say like, yeah, do these 10 fucking things and you'll be pooping like a master poop chef, but it's like it's if it's like I'm imagining myself like in the morning like okay, like cup of salt water, like magnesium pills, like this that I'm like okay, what would I realistically like be consistent with? So I'm thinking like okay, if I could do the bone broth, this substitutes and also adds in addition to the benefits you talked about. So I think it is important, right? Because, and I'm sure you'd recommend like, don't try to do it all at once, right? Because it's,
For sure. For
yeah,
sure. What I would say is it's important to get you moving as fast as possible.
yeah,
If you are somebody who's really constipated. So I do have a free guide, the Constipation Cure. You can download that. You can pick some
hmm,
things there. There's different recipes and whatnot.
yep,
If I had to start you somewhere, just as a quick triage, I want to get you moving.
hmm,
It's going to be, water today, right now, wherever you're at listening to this podcast, grab a glass of water.
yeah,
You've probably heard me rant about this before, but I've ranted about it on our podcast. Like it's easy.
hmm,
It's something that so many people struggle with because we get so busy, we just like forgot to drink the water. So
right,
what would be, start with that right away. But magnesium bisglycinate, trying that before bed and then each night titrating up a little bit until you don't want to be loose stools in the morning, but until you have that normal form stool. And then what you
hmm,
can do is layer in any of the other things that we talked about as you feel that you can. If
hmm,
we're adding more stress, trying to make changes, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot.
right,
Yeah, it does take intention, it takes effort, and it takes, changing our priorities and our schedule and
hmm,
our routine sometimes.
hmm,
But I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so stressed. I don't know where to start because we're just going to
right,
lock ourselves up again.
right. No, absolutely. And I 1000% agree because it's like anything else in life, like those people who try to go like, I'm going to work out 6 days a fucking week, like when they haven't been working at all. It's like, slow your roll, Kimasabe. Like, let's take it easy. Let's like ease into the process. So I think that's a great thing. Like, even if someone pulls two things from like your lifestyle area or two things from, the food perspective, they're already probably going to see over time progress in being regular. One thing I'll ask too is I did see your eyes kind of light up when you talked a little bit about like pharmaceutical drugs and also like for it helps with digestion and also in terms of like to give you background on my life, like I grew up in a household where my mom and dad would be like the Metamucil people. So like the orange fucking powder that tasted like Tang, but like as soon as you drank it, like congealed and like was the nastiest shit ever. So I never
Yep.
even, I was like, I don't want that. But that's a household I grew up in, like the nightly Metamucil, having that glass before bed. So if can you talk a little bit about um I guess what your thoughts are in general, and then maybe benefits, maybe not benefits, and then maybe like what you'd recommend instead.
Yeah. So listen, my parents did a lot of like the Benefiber, like
Yeah.
all of those things. And for example, with Metamucil, if you're not getting the flavored stuff, then it's fine. Actually, it's a soluble fiber.
Hmm.
It's when we get into all the other artificial ingredients, natural flavors, and things like that, that those can actually be disruptive to the gut if somebody is sensitive to whether it's sucralose or even stevia for some people,
Hmm.
aspartame, whatever that type of artificial sweetener is. So I think that's just one note. I just like to have things in natural form.
Hmm.
So why not? And it's by the way much cheaper if
Right.
you just buy psyllium husk or just buy inulin, things like that.
Hmm.
I get real passionate about Miralax specifically. The FDA has not approved this for kids over 2, yet
Hmm.
it's the number one pediatric recommendation. It's the number one doctor recommendation. And it contains polyethylene glycol 3350, PEG 3350. This is used in like antifreeze.
Hmm.
I don't want to drink that stuff.
Hmm.
Like there's many, many other things that we could do, but who benefits?
Hmm.
Right. And so that's kind of yeah, I'm gonna get into the conversation of like follow the money a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
I wish there was more conversation with patients about their diets. I wish they had time to do these things, right?
yeah.
About their diets, maybe more education for the doctors too, and understanding that there are a lot of things via magnesium citrate, magnesium bisglycinate, right? These other things that would dual purpose. They would benefit that person, not just for constipation and alleviating constipation, but also because they're deficient in this mineral, which could
Hmm.
be a root cause. Vitamin D deficiency is another root cause. So this is like a double-edged sword, but somebody's vitamin D deficient now in conventional medicine, like we have a lot of trouble getting vitamin D labs ran or rechecked. It's very frustrating. I can run them for my clients very, very cheap. It's like
Hmm.
pennies on the dollar. It's
Right.
really important. Vitamin D is a hormone. So let's paint the picture here of someone goes in, their vitamin D is really low. Commonly, they'll give like 50,000 IUs once a week. And then maybe if you're lucky, they'll tell you to actually take, 2 to 4,000 IUs daily.
Hmm.
Too much at once will constipate someone.
Hmm.
So they've got a prescription for 50,000 IUs. And then they say, well, take Miralax if you feel like you get constipated. Now it's like a double whammy.
Hmm.
So that's why I get a little bit excited and my eyes light up about that, because there's just, you guys, your body is designed to function well.
Right.
We feed it well, if we nourish it, if we manage our stress management is often very, very overlooked.
Hmm.
Things can run very smoothly. We don't need to rely on all of these things. And, if you want to use a supplement, kind of as we've already talked about, mag bisglycinate is my main choice, but even then it's last,
Hmm.
on that list. Like I'm just saying in terms of the triage, when clients come in and they're like, yeah, I haven't gone to the bathroom in like a week. Of course, I'm going to give them something right away because like we
Right.
need to get you moving. But if we're doing the things with our hydration, our lifestyle, our food, we should be able to go to the bathroom and it shouldn't be something that we have to rely on. Like our constipation is not a laxative deficiency.
Hmm.
Same way that headaches aren't a Tylenol deficiency, things like that. And so
Right.
again, you say like, oh, I've tried all the things and nothing has seemed to work or to help. Well, then you need to keep digging. You need to keep peeling back the layers of the onion. What's going on?
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I again, I love how you phrase that too, because oftentimes we never get to the root cause of things. We're just simply like, dosing the symptoms, or like for example, like analogy with people who are trying to lose weight, they always plug in another workout program, they always plug in another fad diet. Sounds like it's the same thing when it comes to your digestion and trying to become more regular and create a healthier overall body. Is you can't look to the quick fixes when it comes to digestion. You have to do the lifestyle changes, like you said, and you have to have the nutritional changes that go along with all of these things, whether it's just hydration, whether it's including more soluble, insoluble fibers, um, and more important, like you mentioned, the parasympathetic effect of, hey, if you're stressed, the poops are gonna be stressed. You know what I'm saying? So nobody wants stress poops.
Yeah. Well, and that's real too. I mean, our gut, oh man, that's a whole nother conversation, but
Yeah.
depression and anxiety,
Hmm.
ADHD, um, inability to focus, all of those things, we always say look to the gut first because
Hmm.
your immune system, 70 to 80% of your immune system's in your gut. 80 to 90% of your serotonin, your dopamine, your neurotransmitters are created in your gut. And so, yeah, I mean, it impacts our entire health and well-being. And
Hmm.
I want people to thrive. I want them to feel energetic. I want them to have good hormones, healthy hormones, so they
Yeah.
have healthy relationships. If you guys get what I'm saying there, like I
Hmm.
talk a lot with moms coming in who have chalked things up to having kids. Now, I only have one child. He's 3.5 years old. He's the cutest little thing ever. But, you know, I know a lot of moms who have just chalked up symptoms over time, brain fog, fatigue, joint pain. It's just mom life.
Hmm.
It's not just mom life. And by the way, aging, we can age gracefully. There's a lot of things
Right.
that we can do to not have early onset dementia, joint pain and just feeling extremely tired all the time. There's so many things we can do beyond working on our gut health, right? A lot of things that I'm sure that you talk about with your clients. So
Hmm.
if you experience these things, you might think that they're common. Again, symptoms are common, but they're not normal.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that's so true. And I think it's easier to say old age. It's easier to say, like you mentioned, mom life. Um, but when we actually break down what it looks like because, there's a lot of great studies that are coming out in recent years about, metabolism, how it actually really doesn't slow down as much as we thought it did when we get older, right? But what the real underlying thing is like, hey, you're fucking sitting on your ass more than you did 10 years ago when you were running around or walking around, whatever you did more of, right? So it's more at play, which is I really like how you break down. Like you want to become regular, like let's break down what you can do that's realistic, that is subtle life changes, and you can literally implement fucking tomorrow, right? So I love this because this is like I like learning and I like for me it's very interesting. Like I said, I think you explain the material in a very simple way that's digestible. Um, so I appreciate you. Where can people find you? And where can people find the Poop Queen?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram honestly is still my main platform. I know
Hmm.
you love
The
the
old
TikTok, but
gram.
Instagram at the poop queen.
Hmm.
Uh TikTok, yes, at the real poop queen. Fitmomlife.com is our website.
Hmm.
You can also find me 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all podcast platforms on the food code. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's very easy to connect with me. We do have, of course, our Facebook groups. I can send you all the links and stuff to put in
Hmm.
for
Absolutely.
that. But if you want a copy of the constipation cure guide, that would be a good place for you guys to
Yeah.
start to have
I'll
something.
I'll link that in the notes below too for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Have something that's in hand that you can kind of go through and again pick and choose. There's multiple recipes, even beyond some of the things that we
Hmm.
kind of talked about today. But don't settle for anything, less than again, satisfying, easy to pass bowel movements. We didn't talk about, gallbladder and stuff like that today. I do talk a lot about that
Hmm.
in terms of bile. And if you've had your gallbladder removed on my Instagram, or if I'm always willing to chat. So if you guys have a question, just shoot me
Hmm.
that there. But digestion impacts so much, you know, disease, all dysfunction.
Yeah.
And what I say is dis-ease, you know, starts in the gut, signs and
Yep.
symptoms. And so get ahead of it and don't ignore the things, don't sweep it under the rug. No matter how
Hmm.
busy you are, no matter what season of life it is, like you deserve to prioritize you and pay attention to your health. Because
Hmm.
if we don't, that's where, we turn the dis-ease, the
Hmm.
dysfunction into disease. And unfortunately, I was actually just sharing this today on my Instagram. It's estimated by the United Nations and some other organizations that we are going to hit 70% uh, by 2030 from metabolic disorders. 70% of
Mm,
our population will have some sort of metabolic disorder by 2030. Like that's 7 years
mm,
away.
mm-hmm,
So that's
mm-hmm.
why Ryan and I do what we do, because we don't want you to be part of that 70%.
Right, right. Oh, absolutely. And no, I think that's the important part too is and I'd love to have you on again just to talk about like pick your brain about gut health and all that stuff too because I think it is uncharted waters for majority of people. You know, there it's like it's crazy how it's like one of the we have a lot of we have so much research on creatine, right? But like when it comes to like gut health, like we're still like it's like uncovering the depths of the ocean and the earth. Like there's still so much unknown about it and all that. But so I'd love to pick your brain on that on another time too. Um, but yeah, but thank you so much for freaking being the real poop queen on here, and you know, I think it's gonna help a lot of people. I'm already like I took notes already on what I'm gonna include. I already bought my flax seeds because of you, so I got that. I got my raspberry. I'm gonna go eat it now. I got my raspberries, I got my blueberries, my flax seeds. I'm gonna throw it in some Oikos yogurt, but
So
yeah, so I'm already making some changes because of you. But yeah, but thank you again. We'll stay on just for a little bit to chat after. But people know where to find you. You'll have all the stuff in the show notes below. I'll put your constipation guide down there as well. And that's it. Cool.
cool. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one.